What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I am the Scarlet Karibo and today we are going over the updated Yubel deck profile. So I've been tinkering with this deck, I've been testing a lot of different ways, I've been going to a couple different locals, and this is the way that I think I'm comfortable playing it currently. Of course the deck is going to be able to evolve and change moving forward, but where we're at right now, we're going to start with 2 copies of Yubel. We're also going to use 1 copy of Terror Incarnate and 1 copy of the Ultimate Nightmare. So, Yubel is a really powerful archetype because when one of your Yubels is destroyed, it's going to pop up into the next level Yubel. And then when this one's destroyed, it's also going to summon out the Ultimate Nightmare. We're going to use that destruction rotation ability to our advantage. Moving forward, we're going to use 3 copies of Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel is really powerful when you special summon it. Gets you a search for any of your Yubel cards. As well, when your opponent declares an attack, you can special summon it out as a hand trap. Now, all of the Yubels, they have a really interesting ability. They can't be destroyed by battle. When your opponent attacks Yubel, they're going to be taking the damage. And if they attack the Ultimate Nightmare, the monster's going to get destroyed as well. So, really powerful cards. We're going to be using all of the Yubels, as well as 3 copies of Samsara de Lotus. So, Samsara de Lotus is going to be our 1-card starter of the deck. Samsara, on the field, you can tribute it off, special summon your Spirit. Spirit of Yubel is going to search you out one of your extender cards, and then your combo kind of starts from there. So, Samsara de Lotus is a really powerful card. It also has another effect where in the end phase, your Yubel is on the field, you can special summon it from your grave. And during your opponent's turn, you can tribute it off to change an activated monster effect to destroy 1 Yubel monster. That's going to be able to get you into that rotation where if they destroy your Spirit, it goes into Yubel. They destroy your Yubel, it goes into Terror. They destroy your Terror, it goes into Nightmare. So, that's the core of the deck. The Yubel strategy is a lot of fun. It's kind of new from the Phantom of Nightmares. That's where I got this mat. I got it from the sneak peek. Moving forward, we are going to use 2 copies of the Dark Beckoning Beast. This is a Sacred Beast support card, but it really helps out our Yubel strategy because it gets us the spell card Opening the Spirit Gates. Now, Opening the Spirit Gates on its own lets you search out another Dark Beckoning Beast, but also lets you recycle your continuous spells and your Yubels that are in the graveyard. So it's a really good tech to have. Speaking of techs, I like to use the Unchained engine. We're going to use 1 copy of Obama, 1 copy of Blue's Clues, 1 copy of Clifford the Big Red Dog, and 3 copies of Unchained Aruha. So the Unchained engine complements the deck really nicely because these cards like to destroy cards on your field, which activates the Yubel effect, special summons out these guys, and then you can start linking off. As well as Obama, really powerful card. It's going to be able to pop cards as soon as it's summoned, and you can always special summon it out back to your field during the end phase. Very powerful core to add into the Yubel strategy. I like to use 2 copies of Droll and Lockbird. I like to use a variety of staples, and Droll and Lockbird is very powerful. We're going to use 3 copies of Nightmare Pain. This is the card that our Spirit of Yubel is going to be searching out most often. The main combo is going to be Samsara de Lotus, tribute itself to summon Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel searches Nightmare Pain. Now what does Nightmare Pain do? You can destroy 1 dark monster on your field, like the Spirit that we just summoned, or 1 in your hand, so you can destroy a Yubel in your hand. And then it's going to be able to search you out another Yubel card. Very powerful, but it also has a really tricky ability. If you have any of your Yubels on the field, your opponent has to attack one of your Yubels. And then Nightmare Pain is going to deal the damage back at your opponent. So let's say you have the original Yubel on the field. You have Yubel, and they summon out a really strong monster. They can summon basically anything. And they enter the battle phase. When you have Nightmare Pain, they have to enter the battle phase, and they have to swing into your Yubel. That is going to be detrimental to them, because not only is Yubel going to deal the damage back, but Nightmare Pain deals a second dose of the damage. Really powerful card, and it's going to be able to help you win games just by tricking your opponent. The really good strategy with this is Spirit Yubel. Remember when I said that you can special summon it as a hand trap when your opponent attacks? Nightmare Pain on the field, your opponent thinks they're going to swing for game. You got no monsters. Bam. You summon out your Spirit of Yubel, they have to attack the Spirit, and they're probably going to lose from it if they're about to swing for game. So, Nightmare Pain is an easy 3 of, as well as 1 copy of Mature Chronicle. This card's really good for Yubel. It recycles out a Yubel if you have 1 counter on it. Every time you summon a Yubel, you gain another counter. But if you have 5 counters, you can go ahead and search out Super Polymerization. Now this is going to be a main strategy of the deck so we can summon out our fusion monster, the Loving Defender. 3 copies of Super Poly is a must-have. We're also going to use 3 copies of Unchained Abomination's Prison. So Abomination's Prison is really powerful, searches out any of our Unchained monsters. So this is going to be another consistency piece. To help out with more consistency, I like to use 3 copies of Piri Rice Map. Piri Rice Map is going to be able to search out your Samsara de Lotus. Now, eventually, in the Legacy of Destruction, we're going to be getting Nightmare Throne. Nightmare Throne is going to replace Piri Rice Map as soon as we get it into the TCG. Very powerful card. It also searches out more of your Yubel stuff. And Piri Rice Map is going to be our budget version until we get there. Is 1 copy of Called by the Grave. You can't go wrong with Called by. It's going to stop your opponent's hand traps. I also like to use 2 copies of Opening the Spirit Gates. Now, Opening the Spirit Gates, like I said before, searches out the Dark Beckoning Beast. It also recycles a lot of your resources. So it's going to be a very powerful card. Moving on to the traps. We're going to use 1 copy of Obama's Chambers and 1 copy of Escape the Unchained. So both these cards are really helpful. This one special summons an Unchained. This one pops a card on your opponent's field. They're pretty good as effects, but when they're destroyed by a card effect, specifically the Unchained effects, you can special summon out another Unchained monster from your deck. So they're going to be very important. I trimmed these down. I used to run 3 of each. Running 1 of each is really, really helpful. 2 copies of Eternal Favorite. Eternal Favorite is one of the new cards in Phantom Nightmares, and it's really powerful. Lets you special summon out a Yubel from your graveyard. As well, if you have a Yubel on the field, you can use this card as Super Polymerization. You pitch this as well as you discard a card from your hand, then you can fuse your Yubel with any number of effect monsters on the field to go into your Loving Defender. Just like Super Poly, very powerful. Unfortunately, this one can be negated, but honestly, your opponent's going to be using their resources on everything else in the deck, so this card usually gets to go off. Lastly, 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. And now, let's go into the extra deck. The extra deck is a really, really cool part of this, because we have 2 copies of Yubel the Loving Defender. I've talked about this already. When you Super Poly this card, it's going to be able to use any number of effect monsters on the field, so you can basically fuse off your opponent's entire board, unless they're using like a token or something. So, really powerful card. As soon as it's played, it's going to burn your opponent for 500 for each of the materials used for it. So, right off the bat, you can win off this card just by summoning it. Very powerful, that's why we like to run 2 of it. For some more Super Poly targets, just in case you don't have Yubel, we want to use Starving Venom, Mud Dragon, and Garua, the Wings of Resonant Life. Super Poly targets are really helpful. They're going to interrupt your opponent's board, even if you don't have the full Loving Defender play. For some Link monsters, let's go into 2. Unchained Soul Lord of Yama. Yama's a searcher of the deck. A lot of different ways to summon this because you just need 2 Fiend monsters, and the deck is almost exclusively Fiends, so it's pretty easy to get. We're going to use 1 Blue's Clues, the Soul of Rage, and 1 Clifford, the Soul of Anguish. Now these cards are going to use your opponent's board to Link Climb. So kind of like how the Super Poly cards, we're going to use your opponent's to fuse. Now we're using your opponent's monsters to Link Climb. And that's going to be really helpful to summon out our Unchained Abomination. As soon as this card's played, Abomination just starts popping everything on the field. Really, really powerful card. That's going to be our big Link 4 for the Unchained engine. Moving forward, the last bit of the extra deck, we got 1 Salamangreat Almirage. This is how you can play around Droll. We got 1 copy of IP Masquerena, followed by 1 copy of SP Little Knight, as well as 1 Nightmare Unicorn. You can use that for the IP, and Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. This card's really easy to summon because you can just use 2 Yubels, and then you can burn your opponent for 2,000. This is a really easy way to win in time and be able to push for game when you've already dealt a lot of damage. So that's the Yubel deck. I wanted to do a quick update for the profile just so we can make sure that we have exactly how we're playing it out in the open so everyone can try this deck out. I couldn't recommend this deck enough. The Super Poly plays to go into the Loving Defender are so much fun. The Nightmare Pain plays to be able to burn your opponent for their life points is really helpful. And like I said, using the Spirit of Yubel with this card is a really nasty tech. Eternal Favorite's going to be able to special summon out our Yubel, and when Yubel is destroyed, naturally it'll bring us up into our stronger versions of Yubel. And with powerful starters like Samsara de Lotus, we are all set. This deck is already really powerful. Post-Phantom Nightmares, I would say this is probably a rogue deck. We're not there yet because the 2 cards coming out soon are Nightmare Throne and Infernal Grave Swarmer. So when these 2 cards come out, the consistency goes through the roof. This card's kind of like a contingency card. Anytime one of your Yubels is destroyed, you get to special summon another Yubel of a different level. so it's a really good way to flow around into different cards. Infernal Gravestormer is also another really powerful card. We're not going to talk about these two too much until the deck profile for the Legacy of Destruction version of Yubel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to drink some water, and I will see you in the next one.